knows all of this. But how many times I wish this day would hurry up and get over? You ever said that? I wish you would say that. Oh, this day sure is. The time is just moving so slow. Can't wait to get off. I mean, all of that. But you know what? One tick at a time. Okay. Stay with the Psalm, Danny, and go with us. Put up 68 and 20. Psalm 68 and 20. Okay. Our God is a God of salvation, and to God the Lord belongs escape from death. Now here, everything belongs to God, right? Everything belongs to God. Okay. From the beginning of life to the end of life, and everything in between. The beginning and the end, everything in the middle, Alpha and Omega, is basically what these scriptures are talking about. From the beginning until the end, one day at a time. Another scripture, 2 Corinthians 4 and 16, put that up. So we do not lose heart. Even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is what? Day by day. That is, you and I becoming more and more like Jesus, one day at a time. Okay? That is, when you and I first got saved, we were babes in what? Christ. Then we started growing, right? We started maturing. We started developing, okay, into spiritual adulthood. Yep. But we don't get that cap and gown until we see him face to face. Okay? So we are steadily growing. We're increasing in our faith. The mind is constantly being what? Transformed, being renewed, all of that. We're constantly growing in the things of Christ. We're constantly learning how to seek, to put our sights on things that are what? Above. Yeah. Okay. The Luke 11 and 3, we know this one. We mentioned this one. Give us what? Each day our daily bread. And then 2 Chronicles 30 and 21. The people of Israel who were present at Jerusalem kept the festival of unleavened bread 7 days with great gladness. And the Levites and the priests praised the Lord. How often? Day by day. These are just, again, this is our experience. No matter what we are going through, no matter what God has called us to do, it happens one day at a time. And you can trust God one day at a time. Okay? All right. Then that statement of summation, I mentioned it, just a portion of it. Trust God for daily guidance in small increments. And if you cannot see what lies dimly in the distance, Morgan says, do what lies clearly at hand. But what do we want to see? We want to see long range. But we want, and you know, God, you know, we have vision, right? We can kind of see some things. We can kind of give a sense of, you know, like the direction of this church and so forth, and what God may be calling us to do. We can kind of get a sense of that, but we can't see it clearly. And so there are some basic things that we're just supposed to do, like whatever the Bible says. Right? You know, sometimes people get, well, what's the vision for the church? To become a church like the church is in the Bible. To become a biblical church. Let's just do what that church in the Bible did. Does that make sense? Let's just do what the Bible said do. Okay? So again, I mean, not knowing everything there is to know, and how God is going to use the church and what it's going to do. But if we can just start out just looking at, the Bible. Even as it relates to raising a family and leading a family or choosing a career, those types of things. There are some basic things that we can do, okay? Like do a good job at the job you're at. Let me just say it like that. It's better to go somewhere from somewhere than to go somewhere from nowhere. Don't quit when you don't have anywhere to go. Just basic stuff. Do a good job where you are, because they're going to check, right? So it's just kind of, I'm trying, in the middle of, careers, trying to decide what God wants me to do, but I need to make sure I got this base covered, right? Performing well, all of that. So those are just some basic things, not really knowing what all that God has in store. So trusting him in these small increments, okay? So day by day, okay, moving forward, in some day by day, we're moving forward. But then, number two, what does it mean step by step? Now, I've just kind of give you an example of that, in that there are some basic things that you and I can do, as God is telling us to move forward. And God may be telling us to move forward in different areas of our lives. Again, careers, it can be relationships, it can be our finances, it can be in ministry. God can be telling us to move forward in so many different ways. But there are some basic things, okay, that you and I can do, okay? Cole Morgan, he gives this example of how he was at a stage of his life, and he knew God was going to do something else with him, something else for him. But he said there were some basic things that he had to do in order to handle some situations. And just go ahead and put them up, Danny. These are a couple of things that he had to do. He said one of the things that he had to do is that he had to make some phone calls that he had been dreading. He had to handle some situations. Okay? Make a phone call. That may be kind of what God is saying to you as it relates to moving forward. And that there may be some situations you might need to handle. Somebody got to get the ball to moving. Sometimes we don't talk to relatives for years. And God may be telling us to take the first step. Not all of them, but at least the first one. So this is an example. With Morgan's situation, that was making a phone call. And then he says there was something else he had to do. He had to make a tentative decision. That is, based upon the information he had, based upon the resources he had, based upon where he was, he had to make a decision. Okay. And when all you have is what you have, that's all you have. Right? And sometimes you just gotta, under the circumstance, this is the best that I can do right now. So make the decision. Okay? I mean, you ever had, all you had is what you had? And then you took a look at what you had to do with what you had, and you had to make a tentative decision on if it's finance, you got to say, okay, this is what we're going to pay this month. This will keep them off us. Sister Omer used to call it hush money. This will keep them off us. This is the best you can do right now. Okay? So again, for Morgan, these are examples. Number two, then he says, have a conversation. You ever knew that you had to have a little talk, but you didn't want to? Yeah. You hated to bring it up, but you had to deal with it. And let me tell you something. God is not going to fix what we can fix.
Amen.
Did you just hear what I just said through this microphone? Okay. Again, sometimes it's with family stuff. Sometimes it's just with, sometimes somebody on the job, we ain't got nothing against them. They got something against us. And we just got to sit down. We just got to have that conversation. Why is it that every time do you know me from your former life or something, or you got me confused with somebody else? I just know. It just seems as though. You got to have that conversation. That may be the example of moving forward. Have the conversation. And the other thing that Morgan said he had to do, he had to sit down with a calendar. Okay? If we do not schedule our lives, life will schedule it for us. And so sometimes you and I have to put self-care stuff on the calendar. I mean, that just may be an example of God telling us to move forward. I mentioned to you, I think last year that I wanted to focus here on wealth and health. Wealth and health. My health is not going to be 100 if I don't make it to that gym. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got to write down days and times that's going to be workout, right? Why am I waiting on the Holy Ghost to tell me what day to work out on? You see what I'm saying? So in this wanting to be the best me that I can be in terms of my health, then I've got to be proactive in that. And if that is my moving forward, then I'm going to have to look at days, right? Okay. Or that could be for somebody else. That could be for a vacation. That could be for a wedding date. I mean, I don't know. Okay. But again, doing what we can. Okay. Just doing the very best we can. Okay. Let me give you a couple of examples. Okay. Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. And this here again, now, God generally, he provides for us day by day. And he leads us step by step. There are some small increments that you and I can make and take. Okay? Look at Matthew chapter 6. We've already mentioned this. Do not worry about what? Tomorrow. Okay? For tomorrow will what? Bring worries of its own. Today. Leave tomorrow alone. Leave it alone. Okay? Okay. And so God gives us the grace to make it through one day at a time. One situation at a time. Addressing one dilemma at a time. Okay? Taking a look at one area of our lives at a time. Okay. Before we can try to fix the family, let's fix ourselves, our individual self. Okay? So there's some step by steps that we can take. Okay? What they say, I can't do 100 unless I'm 100. You know what I'm saying? You're on that flight and something happens. Who mask you put on first? There you go. I got to help myself so I can help somebody else. All right? All right. You look at Genesis 24 and 27. Okay. And of course, Abraham is he's going out and it has to do with his son, finding him a wife and who he would meet and all of that, Rebecca and all of that. And so That's the context of Genesis 24. Listen to what it says. And said, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the way to the house of my master's kin. Now that is to say, what he is saying here is that ultimately Isaac would in fact find his wife. But had he stayed home, he wouldn't have ran into her. Okay. You know, I cannot say, God, give me a job, and I'm laying in the bed. At least got to put on my basic color outfit, and at least got to fill out some applications, knock on some doors, you know, make some calls, right? And at least be out there, right? At least be out there, at least be in the way. Okay? Who knows? Someone may look at us and we look so impressive, you know. Have a conversation, and who knows what can happen as a result of that. But at least what? Be in the way. Do something. Okay? Okay. Now, 1 Samuel 10 and 7. 1 Samuel 10. Okay? 1 Samuel 10. No, it's a typo. Go with me. Go with me. It was my fault. I had to do some research. I'd given media the wrong one, but it's 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse number 7. Now here's, there were some donkeys missing, and they went out looking for the donkeys, and in going out looking for the donkeys, ultimately Saul would run into Samuel, who was the priest who would anoint him as king. Okay. But had Saul not been out looking for the donkeys, he wouldn't have ran into Samuel. Okay? And then Samuel would prophesy. He would say, you know, you're going to see some things, and when you hear some things, you're going to run into some people. That's how you kind of know where you are, and the donkeys would take care of themselves. They eventually ran into the donkeys, okay? But that was, the point of it, it wasn't about the donkeys as much as it was about Saul running into the priest, prophet Samuel. But had he not been looking for his daddy's donkeys, he would have come to Samuel, who would have known him as king. Okay? So look at the verse. Okay. Now, when these signs meet you, again, he was telling them what he would see and who he was running to and all these different things. He says, now, when these signs meet you, do whatever you see fit to do, for God is with you. Let me read another translation, 10 and verse 7. It says, and let it be when these signs are come to you, that you do as occasion serves you. Here's another translation. As you experience these signs, do as the occasion requires. See that you take the chance which is offered to you. When these signs meet you, do whatever your hand finds to do, for God is with you. That is, it's just some basic stuff. Listen, don't be scared to make a mistake. God got you. Do something. Do something. Okay? God is saying to them, move forward. Take a step. Okay? All right? This last piece, again, he guides us, he provides for us day by day, he leads us step by step, but then he cares for us moment by moment. One author says that when it comes to following God, it's not a matter of unveiling as much as it is a matter of unfolding. Think about that. Every one of us, each of our lives have had some unfolding moments. Okay. Some things have just unfolded. Okay. They just unfolded. Sometimes it's that way when you're, looking for a house. Looking for a house. And you just happen to be riding somewhere and you see one. Or somebody overhear you talking about you looking for a house. I mean, things like that can happen with unfolding. I mean, it happens with careers. It happens with relationships. One of the, no doubt, best friends I have in ministry, Anthony Sinkfield, came here some years ago. Anthony Sinkfield and I met in the line for financial aid at Vanderbilt Divinity School in 1989. We both were looking crazy. And after he and I had the conversation, we knew why we were both looking crazy. He had uprooted and left Virginia to come to Nashville, Tennessee to go to Vanderbilt Divinity School. I had quit my job working in Inroads, corporate America, to go to Vanderbilt Divinity School full time. Didn't know how I was going to make it. He didn't know how he was going to make it. But he heard the call to go. I heard the call to go. And we found ourselves looking like we didn't know where we were. But we ran into each other. And we had similar experiences. And we prayed each other through Vanderbilt. We cried together. His family met my family. Omi met Christy and so forth. That's how it unfolded. Okay? So God has these types of moments, okay, where they just unfold, okay? They just happen. So now let's look at verse number 15, okay? Okay, good. Verse number 15. Put it up again, Danny. The Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward." This moment by moment again is that God cares for us moment by moment. There is no time in your life or my life where God was not all the way in, even when we were not all the way into him. Now God says go forward. You got to know he cares for you. Now, if he cares for us, then that means what? We can trust him. So here's what going forward may look like. Number one, go as we are led. Go as we are led. Okay? Think about the job you have now or the job you had. Okay? As best you can discern now or could discern back then, you felt the leading of God. Okay? Best you can discern. Over a period of time, God has a way of confirming some things, but early on, as best you could discern, you were being led of God. So go as we are led. Who is it that tells them to go forward? God tells Moses to tell the people to go forward. I wonder why didn't God just shout from heaven, "Go forward"? You ever wish God had talked to you like that? I be struggling in that study looking for a text. I be saying like God said, preach Exodus. You know that Cecil B. DeMille voice on Ten Commandments. God ain't spoke to me like that yet. He has spoken to me by reading this book. And since every word is his word, I can't go wrong by preaching anything in the Bible. It took me for years. I would wait all week. God tell me what to preach. God tell me what to preach. And it dawned on me I had a big Bible. This is my word. You can't go wrong. Anywhere you jump in, just do it justice. Just study it, work with it, and you'll be all right. Okay? All right. Have you ever come to a Bible study or a sermon or reading a devotion and you got the word that you needed? I mean, you just can't go wrong with that. Okay? So here, God speaks to Moses, and Moses speaks to the people. Could it be that God speaks to Moses to speak to the people is because the people, they have a stronger relationship with Moses than they do with God? Isn't that something? We got some people that God don't have in terms of influence. Ooh. So God says to Moses, tell them to move forward. So Moses tells the people to move forward. God knows how to get you to move forward. He knows who to speak to, and he knows who to speak through. Okay? So go as you are led. Okay? Number 2, go when we are led. Now, do we think God wants them to wait a day before they go forward? Now is the time, right? Now is the time. Go forward. Do you think they were supposed to wait till the Red Sea opened to go forward? Yes. It at least had to start opening. That's when the miracle would take place. So go when we are led. Okay? Go when we are led. Go as we are led. Go when we are led. And number 3, go where we are led. Now, where were they being led? They were already out of Egypt. Where were they being led? Ultimately, Canaan. But let me tell you where. Forward. Forward. That's where. Forward. Okay? So oftentimes, again, God is again, in some way, he's telling us to go forward. Go forward sometimes, again, in our faith and our discipline. Our stewardship. There's so many different metaphors for going forward. Okay? So, when he says it, where he says it, as he's saying. Listen to what Kuhn says. Put that statement of summation up. He says, I have found that if we go as far as we can, God often opens up the rest of the way. Listen, just trust him one step at a time. Just do what you can do. You can't do everything at one time, but just do what you can do. Okay? Okay. All righty. 7:55. Any questions on go forward? Hold on a second, Big Reg. Go ahead, Petey.
I said, is resentment or not being able to forgive, is that another big part of
That's a challenge. That's a challenge, Red. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. Sometimes we think if we forgive the person, we let them off the hook. Listen, when we forgive the person, we letting ourselves off the hook. You cannot move forward in life not forgiving people. You're the one in bondage. I'm the one being held hostage when I choose not to forgive. See, when you can't forgive, you can't sleep at night. Because we're thinking about the person who's wronged us, what they did to us, how it hurt us. And they are invading our mental space. We lay down with them on our mind. We get up with them on our mind. We live in our head. I mean, listen, they're not even leasing space in our head. We just giving it for free. Whatever someone has done to you, forgive them and let God deal with the judgment. Let God deal with the punishment. But you do the forgiving. I need to do the forgiving. So yeah, resentment and forgiveness, that's a big one. That's a big one. Back here, yes.
Pastor, I wanted to know, you said, I want to know when I began to read my Bible,
Yes.
study. Sometimes I wonder, where should I start? What do I read today? Is it better to try to read something because of what you're going through or what you're dealing with at the time, or just open up the Bible and just read?
You can, let me tell you something. You cannot go wrong by reading the Bible.
Okay.
Listen, I have been preaching series, and by the time we got to Easter or New Year's Eve, where the series has landed is appropriate for the season. Or I have been in a series and I've gotten to a certain passage, and that passage has been appropriate for what I was going through personally, or what the church was going through, or what the city was going through, or what the nation was going through. Now, it's different if you want to get on a reading plan. That's different. But if you just want to read the Bible for the sake of reading, you can jump in anywhere. If you want to do a plan, I would start with the Gospels. Okay? Yes, I would start with the Gospels. And I would read from the beginning, okay, to now. When you read, I would start in John. Because see, if you start with Matthew, then you're dealing with Jesus being like me, human. You start with John, it's Jesus being God. So you want to read from the beginning backwards. Okay? You want to read he came down. You want to read he came down, but he was up first. Don't start where he was down, start where he was up. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, so on with God. So I would say read the Gospels from John on back. After you read the Gospels, then you can start reading anywhere else, and you will bump into Jesus on every page. Because Jesus is in every verse of Scripture. Okay? Read the Gospels. All right?
Oh, just to add on to that, Marcel did, one of the times he was speaking, that's what he spoke on, and that's what started me from reading from John, because that's where he said.
Yeah, you heard his daddy say that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pastor, sometime when we are going through a Red Sea experience,
Yes, sir.
we have to change our attitude.
Okay. Okay.
Amen.
That can be a challenge. That can be a
Amen. I
challenge.
remember when God called me to preach. I told him, no. You need to get somebody else. In order for me to do what God tell me, I got to change my attitude.
Yes.
Amen. Mm-hmm. He told me to go tell my pastor what I told you. And with that kind of attitude, that's not the one. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we allow our attitude to mess us up.
Yeah.
And my grandmama told me one time, I'm going to leave this alone to go get some water. Now, I got mad. She told me, boy, you need to change your attitude. If you don't, I'll change it for you. So sometimes, our attitude messes us up.
Yeah, that can be a challenge in moving forward. Our disposition. We don't want to obey. We don't want to do it. Over here. Steve.
Pastor, I was thinking about something a while back when the Lord had brought me back to Mount Olive, and I was struggling in a lot of areas and got better at some. Mm-hmm. I'm still a work in progress, but that word you talking about, go, go forward.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have went forward, what about what they saying?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can get caught up in what people think of you, and it can keep you paralyzed from keep moving.
Yeah.
So I just thank God that I sleep good at night.
Yes. Yes. That's an example of moving forward. Moving forward in your church membership. Again, it could be moving forward on a job. You know, there's a position open. Move forward. Or your relationship. You know, y'all been dating how long now? God may be saying, y'all go ahead and jump the broom. See that? Move forward, Steve. Any other questions, y'all? Any other questions? You, Jeff? You got a question, Jeff? Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead. So are you proposing tonight, or have you ever? Okay, don't talk about that. Okay, y'all talk about that later. Okay, all right.
Well, the one see I was at before I came here,
Leave me alone, bye.
I couldn't get out of the Red Sea with the same people. I had to. Well, I talked to you.
Yeah,
Leave them people alone.
yeah.
I had to leave them people alone. But they kept pulling me back.
Go forward. Go forward. Go forward. So then we all have our own examples of what going forward. You know, any other questions, clarification on this go forward? Okay. Yeah, go forward.
When that happened to me, when they was all coming at me,
Okay.
and he spoke it because
Who, Reg?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
because what I did in front of all of them, I say, you know what? I apologize to each one of y'all. I say, and what I'll do, I just go by the rules. But since y'all say I'm the newcomer and I don't have no type of clout here, so I say, so I apologize to each one of y'all and I go by the rules. And ever since I did that, because I was going, it's like when I come home, it's like they still in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
they treat me so kind now. But it's like I got a wall up against them because I'm scared to let it down. But
Yeah.
I keep my armor on.
Yeah, yeah,
Amen.
yeah. Okay. Right here. Oh, Lavelle, your question,
Lavelle?
statement?
I just tell her to quit being so gullible. See, you got to quit being so gullible when you're going through the Red Sea. You got to be strong. You got to handle it the right way.
Say something, Pastor. Say something, Pastor.
Yeah, we was talking about meekness this morning. We did. It's power under control.
Say something else, Pastor.
Right here.
How do you have or gain patience during battling your Red Sea?
How do you gain? How to develop patience? How do you learn patience? I think life is the teacher. A variety of situations gives shape to the type of patience. Patience with people, patience with advancement, patience with relatives, patience with the hand of God on your life. So life has a way of helping you learn your limitations, and you are forced to trust God. You get tired of not waiting on Him. Sometimes when we can't handle something, then we'll get another person to try to handle it for us. Then that makes it worse. So then we have to get to a place where we are forced to wait on God. So life, situations, a variety of types of patience. Life has a way of helping with that. And I think patience is I think it's a painful lesson, but I think that is to help us not to take matters into our own hand. Because if I take over, then the last time I took over, I remember how bad that hurt. So I don't want to do that no more. So it kind of reminds me, just wait on God. Yeah. So yeah. Lee.
Oh, yeah. When you're saying like wait on God, it reminds me of when I was living in Jacksonville, Florida, right before I came here. I thought I was coming here for a job, but I found out I came here for something greater. I met my wife, and that was, and God set that up. So hey, and my life has been great ever since.
Unfolding. Think about that, Lee. And that's what I think that's what Coleman was talking about. Not necessarily, these moments are not unveiled; they unfold at the right time, right place, right situation. Unfolds. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, back here.
I just believe that, and I'm learning that whenever you pray for something, you have to allow God to give it to you in the way that He see fit. Because a lot of times, and in the past I have prayed for something, and I'm looking for it this way, and kind of to what my friend Reverend Allen said, Reverend Leroy said. I'm sorry. That we have to be able to accept the blessing any way He gives it to us.
Yes.
And not what we're looking for.
Yes.
So that's just mine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One more. We're gonna wrap it up.
Pastor, wouldn't patience be the same as moving forward, or would it?
No, because sometimes sometimes you can move forward in patience. Yes, and that is, you're no longer taking matters into your own hand anymore. That's moving forward in patience. You're no longer, you're not asking anybody else their opinion. You're not telling anybody else what you're going through. It's just you and God. So that can be patience. That can be, moving forward in patience. Because sometimes we're accustomed to sharing everything with everybody and not knowing how to keep everything to ourselves. Yeah. So that could be a way. All right. I'll see you in the morning on the prayer call. 1, 2, chest.